Welcome back. This is the last video in automated assessments with Drozer, but it is one of the most interesting videos in this course, right? So if you remember, this is what we have done in the previous video. The first step we have done was we identified the package name of a target application, which is com.androidpentesting.vulnerable content provider, and then we identified the attack surface using this command, where we got one content provider as exported, and then we went ahead and found the URI associated with this particular application, and we got this particular URI, and Drozer is saying that it is accessible. So we went ahead and tried querying this particular URI and got this particular details. Even we went ahead and we have seen how to query the same content provider right from ADB rather than Drozer. Right, so in this video we are going to extend the same concept. We are going to use the same URI, but we're going to rather than querying this particular content provider, let's see if we can do anything else, something more. Right, so I'm gonna use another module in this particular Drozer. So first let me give a quick list. As you can see, it can actually find out injection vulnerabilities. It tests content providers for SQL injection vulnerabilities. So let us use this particular scanner.provider.injection to see if there are any content provider vulnerabilities in this particular content provider. Just simply give it to this particular module, hit enter. I'm sorry, let's use the switch URI. As you can see, it is saying there is injection vulnerability in this particular content provider in selection as well as in projection. So let's now go ahead and exploit this particular injection vulnerability by formulating some queries. Right, so before doing that, let me show you something interesting. So in general, when you are performing a security assessment on a web application, and if you find a parameter in your website, how do you go ahead and check for SQL injection? It's simple. We add a single quote and we break the query, right? So if the query is broken, we confirm that there is an SQL injection in that particular parameter. So let's do the same here. So I'm going to add one query here, one single quote here at the end of this particular URI along in selection. So to do that, let me show you. Yeah, so let me use the same query, same command, because I'm gonna query this particular database, and in selection let me put a single quote. Right, so if the query is broken, we have got an injection vulnerability here. As you can see, it says unrecognized token, single quote and some closing parenthesis, and while compiling select star from users where this particular single quote. So it is very clear that it is actually giving a very beautiful error along with the query that is failed. Right, as you can see, select star from users where parenthesis, and inside this single quote is the query that is executed by the database, and it is unable to compile this particular query because of this single quote. So the query is broken. Now as expected, this particular application is vulnerable to SQL injection. Now let's do something interesting. So if you remove this, you'll be able to see all the details. Now just to make it more interesting, I'm gonna enter something else, Srini2. So basically, if you enter the user's name and if you click show data, it will actually give you the name, and this is where the SQL injection vulnerability is existing in this application. Right, so let me now make it ID equals to 1, because if you observe, this is the column name, and this is another column name, and this is another column name, right? So if I can actually pass extra queries to this particular application, obviously that will be helpful for us in exploiting the application further. So what I'm going to do is, before doing this, let's first see if the data has been inserted or not. As expected, it is returning another entry as well. Now let's make it id equals to 1. Now if everything goes fine, it should display only one row, that is the first row. Fantastic. Now let's see the second row. Super hit. Again it is displaying only one row that is specified by the attacker. Now let's use the magic string 1 or 1 equals to 1. Fantastic. It is returning true, so that it is displaying both the entries. Now I'm going to show you something interesting. What if I can dump all the databases on other sensitive information from other tables as well, right? That is something which is required for an attacker. So I'm going to write another select query along with the existing query using a union statement. So let me show you how to do that. So I'm just going to add this particular line to this by removing this, right? Let me paste it here, and if you observe, I'm writing an additional union I'm writing an additional select query where I'm just writing a query like select 1 2 3 from SQLite master, where again 1 equals to 1. So if you observe this query, I'm writing a union statement, so both the queries will work. But when you are writing a union query, the column names in both the queries should be same, the number of columns, right? So since the first query is having 3 columns, I'm giving 3 different numbers, so that these 3 numbers will get actually be displayed on this particular output. So, and SQLite master is, that's like a database which holds all the metadata. It is something like information underscore schema in your MySQL databases. So 1 2 3 is actually getting displayed here. Now this is a good news. We can actually replace this 1 2 3 and we can do something else. So let's say SQLite underscore version of. This is fantastic. We are actually getting the database version here. 3.7.11 is the database version here. Now we can even do a couple of other interesting things. If you just remove this and if you give tbl underscore name, it prints out all the table names that are there in this particular database. As you can see, users is the database that we have, and that's where it is actually coming from, right? So let's do something interesting. So this time, rather than getting information from SQLite master, let's get information from users, because we already know one database, one table name. So this is 1 2 3. As you can see, we are getting 1 2 3 as expected. Now let me print the type of column names, so that if you want to insert something into the database, it will be very helpful for you. So I'm just typing, I'm just finding out the type of column name, again type of bank details. So this will actually return us what type of columns we have here. So as expected, the first one is integer and the second one is text and the third one is also text. So this is very helpful for us if you want to insert data into this vulnerable content provider. Yes, we can even insert data into this content provider, and that's going to be an exercise for you, right? And this is how we can actually exploit vulnerable content providers using Drowser. Drowser is a very, very powerful tool. You can go ahead and make use of its functionality. So that's all I have in mind for this video. Thanks for watching it. Thanks a lot.